I'm looking very tired. I'm not going to deny it. I know it. But then I'm still in the warehouse and I felt like I wanted to speak to the fact that eBay would not disappoint. You take a look at the videos I made about 2 weeks ago, you would have seen me expressing the fact that, things were not selling. Things were kind of at a standstill. I was already like, okay, what does this mean? If you are a business and you sell on eBay, you can pretty much relate to the fact that when things are not selling, you might be a little bit stressed, is what it is. And this is exactly the reason why I kind of advise you, if you don't want to play this game of being worried every now and again, go get a normal job, because business entails that sometimes you're going to be stressed. You're going to be worried because if you do not have customers, if you do not have people buying your products, if you sell physical product like myself, you're going to be worried at some point. It is what it is. There's just no way. Nobody's going to give you a guarantee if you sell on an online marketplace. You're not going to be guaranteed of a constant amount of sales every month. But then we know this and we still want to play the game, because we know that, yes, there is the possibility for you to hit a home run and there's a possibility for you to make a lot of sales. There is also going to be that possibility for you to make absolutely nothing. We know this. We are fully aware of this. But then it doesn't remove the fact that sometimes when things are just kind of at a standstill, you get a little bit worked up. And this was exactly how I felt just 2 weeks ago. Everything was kind of, I'm not going to say upside down, but it wasn't also standing, straight the way it should be. Sales were not going through. Bills were already like creeping in. Inventories were bought. Money has been tied down. The idea is when you go out to buy inventories, you do not want to buy them and keep them in your warehouse. This is not the idea. This is not how business is done, or this is not how we play the game. We go out there to put a lot of money on some inventories, hoping that we can bring them quickly, flip them, so to say, make profits and go back into the market. This is how we play the game. And we've been playing it like this for a very, very long time. Until last 2 weeks, everything kind of broke, and it broke really, really hard. There was a day I had 0 sales. There were 2 days I had just like 40 euro sales, and I was like, this is not a good thing. But then if you have been on this platform for a very, very long time, you can pretty much tell that, look, this is a platform that is here to stay. I do not know, I do not care how much of an AI is being developed in the world, how much, people try to, just, complicate this thing. But eBay as a platform is here to stay. People understand that this is a place they can actually go and get stuff that they need. They can go there, search for items, get to find responsible sellers like myself, like yourself, and then they can buy things off of the platform, and in about 2 or 3 days, the item is going to be delivered in exactly the same condition that the seller has specified. Yes, sometimes there are give and takes. Sometimes the items, it doesn't just work so smoothly like this, but this is how it should be. And because of this, we constantly put, products on this platform. And eBay, being what it is, they didn't disappoint, this trust that thousands of sellers have put on the platform. It takes a lot of trust, to go out there, spend 5,000 euros, 10,000 euros, 3,000 euros buying inventories and come and put it on a platform, hoping that the platform will do its job and you will be guaranteed a sale. But then eBay didn't disappoint this thing. You see, as soon as I made the series of videos I made expressing a little bit of, shock as to why things were really, really, really slow. Of course, it wasn't just a total shock. I understand that we are in summer, and in the summer months, things don't seem to sell the way they should. But then, as soon as I expressed, this feeling in about 3 or 4 videos, eBay from nowhere started doing its magic. And guys, believe me, when I say that eBay is doing its magic, I'm just pulling up my sales data in case you see me taking a look at my phone. I'm just trying to go back, after the point I made, those videos. And as soon as I made those videos, I did tell you guys that I was actually trying to, push things. There were items that, I kind of posted very cheap. And as soon as I did that, something happened. But then one thing I realized just 2 days ago was that I received an email just 2 days ago that, look, I am now a top rated seller on eBay. All along, I had always thought I was a top rated seller, but obviously I was an above average seller on eBay. Look, I have been there, like, I don't know, this year alone, I've been there like 5 or 6 times, if I'm not mistaken. I get this email, you've lost your top rated seller position. And a few days later, I get the email again, you are once again a top rated seller on eBay. It just keeps going on and off and on. Sometimes I just stop tracking these things because, yes, this is what it is. Sometimes I take a look at my competitors and I see that I am doing exactly what they are also doing, and if not even better than them. I ship out my items well on time. Sometimes we have no control over what the shipping company does, and sometimes the shipping company tends to mess things for us, big time. You send an item, you upload your tracking number, and for one reason or the other, the item gets delayed during delivery. And when the buyer receives the item, of course, he or she is not happy. He directs his anger to the seller and goes there and messes up, the reviews of the seller. This is just what it is. And sometimes, if you are selling like a lot of stuff, especially high value items like what I sell desktop PCs, laptops, monitors, you are going to be off and on that top rated seller position on eBay, because people's expectation in this category is just insane. But then, that being said, I received this message, and this was pretty much what also accounted to the fact that sales were just slow for me. Apparently, as soon as I lost the top rated seller position, eBay kind of, dropped me in the search ranking, but I didn't notice this, but I kept seeing the fact that items were not selling. But then, once again, it started with an NVIDIA, GeForce GT7 10 graphic card that sold for 21 euros. An NVIDIA graphic card K4000 that sold for 36,090. I think I also made a video about this. But then a Fujitsu Exprimo P758 sold for 109 euros. And then a 256 gigabytes, Micron SSD sold for 28 euros. The buyer was actually a fellow reseller in this business, paid 28 euros for 2 pieces. As if that's not enough, a Fujitsu Exprimo P758 sold for 269 euros and 33 cents. A HP EliteDesk 840 G5 keyboard, 26,090. Another one, 26,090. And then a HP EliteBook 840 G5 sold for 129 euros. It was a laptop that I received like last year. This was the kind of the ones that were left in the dead pile, but over again, I keep bringing stuff out. I keep cleaning them. I keep checking the condition, and this was one I actually was able to bring out. Sold for a decent amount, 129 euros. Another keyboard, a HP EliteBook 840 G5 keyboard, sold again for 26,090. A graphic card, AMD Radeon Aro 5 430, sold for 21,90 euro. And from nowhere, my pillow covers that I've had for ages, on the platform, sold for 142 euros and 4 cents. Buyer bought 16 pieces. This was kind of a blast because I wasn't expecting this to sell. This is one item I have had for a very, very long time. The beautiful thing about this item is that these are replenishables. They just keep getting replenished each time somebody buys them. But then that wasn't all. A HP Z230 workstation sold for 172 euros 69 cents. A keyboard again, HP EliteBook 840 G5 26,090. And a Lenovo ThinkCentre M700 sold for 272 euros. And a graphic card, a Radeon HD 7350, sold for 16,090 euro. And 500 gigabytes HDD hard drive, that sold for 14,090 euro. And a complete PC. The beautiful thing about this complete PC was that if you saw the video I put up about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, almost around the same time, I did make a video that, look, even when things were not selling, somebody was still returning an item, and the item that was returned at the time was a 426 or 29 euro PC. It was devastating, but the beautiful thing is that the buyer did a very good job in returning the PC back to me, and because of that, nothing was broken. The monitor, I could still sell it. The keyboards, the mouse, everything was still intact. So then somebody did go ahead to my shop, paid 356 euros for a complete PC, a HP ProDesk 400 G4, mini PC with monitor, everything complete for 356.98. A lot of the stuff that were used in shipping out that PC that was returned actually came into this transaction, and it did help me to recover a lot of money. And the Lenovo ThinkCentre M710S small form factor PC also sold for 278 euros. This was a decent one. I did ship out this today. As a matter of fact, the B-roll on this video is actually me shipping out this PC. And then Lenovo ThinkCentre M700 also sold for 276 euros. Guys, that is not all. A graphic card AMD Aro 5 430 also sold for 24,90 euro. HD 7350 graphic card sold for 1690. And my thermal printer, I actually have 3 pieces of this. I have one for myself, and there were 2 in this warehouse for a very, very long time. I never ever listed them because I wasn't so sure if somebody was interested in the thermal printer. But then in the heat of the no sales activities, One thing I did look up to was, look, I have this thermal printer. Let me go ahead, take a look at what people are asking for. And I was shocked to realize that this thing, even in the used condition, sells for as much as 200 euros, 300 euros. I went ahead, threw mine for 149 euros. Somebody bought it, paid cash. This was a decent transaction. A HDDR drive, 500 gigabytes, also sold for 14.90 euro. An Intel G5600 CPU, also sold for 18.90 euro. I'm going to be shipping it outside of Germany. And hopefully, this is always one transaction I like to track whenever things are going outside of Germany. I want to see how long it takes for the item, to be delivered. So guys, what do I mean by all this? This platform that we all sell on, sometimes, yes, we are all guilty of this, guilty of coming here, to bash the platform. eBay is not selling. eBay is throttling my sales. eBay is, suppressing my listings. Guys, this eBay thing is a beast. And if you are still out there today, you are still sitting on the fence, you are not so sure what kind of business you want to do to make money, I can highly recommend you that, look, eBay is a hustle that you can actually be part of today. They will not disappoint you because, people all over the world have proven the fact that eBay is a major hustle. It's a hustle that, yes, of course, you don't need to be lazy to come to this platform. If you are lazy looking for free money, you are not going to find it here. You're going to be disappointed. But if you are saying to yourself, yes, I want to do something, I want to work hard, I'm ready to put in the grind, but I just don't know what kind of hustle is going to, guarantee me cash for the effort I put in. Perhaps not a direct correlation, but at least you put in a bit of effort and you get something in return. eBay is a major hustle, and selling or flipping used computers on the platform is something that people do not tend to talk about a lot. Perhaps people do not understand exactly how the game is played. If you go onto YouTube, yes, you pretty much see people talking about the hustle of, flipping, books, clothing, and stuff like that, because this hustle is kind of easy to really figure out. Because if you go out there on the flea market, wherever you go, you tend to see people wanting to sell clothes. But I stand to be corrected. It's very hard or difficult to get, very decent hardwares, decent laptop, decent monitors, decent computers on just any market. This might be the reason why people are not talking about it. But then if you do your homework properly, if you get an A in doing your homework, you are ultimately going to figure out certain things. And when you do that, you are going to be surprised what you can actually do with hardwares like this, combined with a very responsible platform like eBay. You will be surprised what you can achieve. So guys, today, even though I was tired, I felt like, yes, I need to say this, because I don't want to be that guy that will always come around whenever, eBay is failing in his work, eBay is not delivering, to complain. When things also begin to take shape and things are falling back into place the way they should, I am also going to come here and talk about it. So guys, I'm disappointed. I am grateful for the sales that has happened in the past few days. And I want to encourage you, do something on eBay. Go around your house, take a look at the things you can sell. Take a look at the things that you can do to make money on this platform. Until I see you again in the next one, peace.